Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you've had a great Christmas. From a Browns point of view, we certainly have. We're just going to get into everything from Christmas Eve and for the game on Thursday night against the New York Jets as the Browns look to bring the playoffs home for Christmas, or at least Christmas week. You're listening to the Believe in Brits podcast. Yeah, welcome everybody into today's show. We're recording on Wednesday night. We decided to take Boxing Day off. Some of us go out for things, some of us hit sales, and some of us just think about all the different permutations of how the Browns get into the playoffs come Thursday night. I was very much the latter. Shaun was very much the former, and a wine. We just hope that you're safe, buddy. All we got was a text saying that he's rough, so sending our wishes to him. I'm assuming. Actually, no, he plays football. I'm hoping it's not injury related. I'm hoping that it's more merriment related, but I'm sure that we'll find out before the next recording. Anyway, Shaun, Merry Christmas to you, mate. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Enjoyed it. Nice just to obviously have a few days off, spend some time with the family. So yeah, it was nice, mate. It seems ages ago that the Browns played on Christmas Eve, doesn't it? It was only like 3 days ago. It feels like an absolute lifetime ago.
It does. I think that watching Villa's second half performance against Man United kind of made it seem like much more of an age for us both. I've been raring to talk Browns ever since that happened, and just purge that from my mind. Let's get straight into it, mate. It's probably going to be a short one because we want to get back to our copious amounts of alcohol and chocolates. I've got some Maltesers teasers that are just screaming my name. So let's get straight into it, shall we? We'll row backwards to the day that feels like forever ago, but was only 3 days ago. The 36-22 win over the Houston Texans. Is there much really that can be said about it? You know, defense was on fire. Our first string defense, anyway, was on fire. Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper seem to be the only people playing on the offense, but it damn sure didn't matter. Flacco throwing for 368 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Amari Cooper, 11 receptions for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. He becomes I'm trying to get the words right now. He becomes the franchise record holder for receiving yards in a single game. He becomes, is it the first Brown to get 100 yards in consecutive games, in 2 consecutive games? I think I remember reading that somewhere.
It's better than that, mate. It's the first Browns player to go back-to-back 1,000 yard
Back to
receiving.
back 1,000 yards. Yeah, that's right. I know. I'm getting my my records mixed up there. Then only Josh Gordon stands in his way. No, Braylon Edwards and Josh Gordon stand in his way in terms of single season receiving yards. Braylon Edwards, he'd be able to catch, if he records, I think it's like 38 yards or something silly. I think if he gets over 100 yards, he easily clears it. Josh Gordon will not be passed, though. He got something like 1,650. That's not going to be caught in the next 2 games unless we have something like this involved. But then you've got the extra game to take into account, etc., etc. Nothing really on the ground. Jerome Ford leading the way there, 15 carries for 25 yards. And really, all that the Texans really showed, apart from a late punch, of which we weren't necessarily bothered about, was a Damian Pierce 98-yard kick return, of which seemingly screwed over our kicker and then our punter later on down the line as well, which Dustin Hopkins and Corey Bajorquez are not expected to be seen on Thursday. Quite a lot, really, to unpack there from what was a routine win. What's your take on it, Shaun, for not only the game itself, but also looking ahead?
Oh, look, the game itself, mate, I thought it was a pretty phenomenal performance from everybody, really. I thought it was an exceptional performance, probably one of the best performances collectively that they've put together all year. Defense has won some games on its own. The offense has had some decent games here and there, but this probably felt like the first one that it all came together on the same afternoon. It's beyond laughable now, isn't it? How Joe Flacco has just took hold of this team and has just transformed it to this explosive aerial attack. I mean, the stage was set on the very first play from scrimmage. You know, they've been excellent in the play action game with Flacco. You know, it was a 53-yarder first play of the game to Amari Cooper, you know, which set them up with, you know, a short touchdown run for Jerome Ford. And as you say, the connection between the two of them all day was just a thing of absolute beauty. Just phenomenal. You know, Cooper, I think, has had an excellent season. You know, I'd like to see him return. I sort of said to you guys pre-Christmas, you know, if you could get rid of, you know, I think that we were asked a question about a dispensable player, you know, and I said that potentially, you know, could look for an upgrade in terms of somebody like Mike Evans or anything. But I mean, Amari Cooper's been phenomenal all year long, really. I mean, you consider this is now with QB4. Just incredible. I thought the defense was excellent across all three levels. I think the line play has been really good, and I know, and it was quite frustrating, to be honest, sort of listening to some of the commentary, and Sky was sort of quite, you know, basic in their analysis, shall we say, about Garrett not getting sack numbers. If you look at the
even
line,
though they're forcing the quarterback to roll over to the right and get plays off quickly, yeah,
exactly. And you look at the whole line. I thought Zadarius Smith's really showed up and had a big game. I think Alex Wright continues to develop at an encouraging level. You know, which is really pleasing to see. Great to see JOK with the green dot responsibility this weekend.
Yeah.
Handled that really well. There was no breakdowns in communication or anything like that. And outside of a pretty sloppy first drive from Martin Emerson, where he seemed to be called for about 4 penalties, almost on successive plays, the defence overall, I think, did a phenomenal job. Like you say, 7 points given away on a kick return, which can happen. I've got to be honest, I still don't really know what happened. It was an awful piece of broadcasting from Fox.
I can tell you what happened. Essentially,
I know there was a hold in there, but
that was essentially it. If they just call that hold in the middle of the field, then none of that happens at all.
Yeah, I know there was a hold in there, but like I say, the 7 points from that, so, you know, 14 points to the sort of backups, if you like. You know, got a little bit. It felt a little bit twitchy towards the end, but to be honest, the game was well and truly done. The worrying thing is, again, though, as you say, and we're kind of just immune to it now, made injuries, you know. I mean, no one's making a big song and dance about it. And I understand why, because we're at the stage where you just hope that Joe Flacco plays every game. But, you know, let's not downplay the significance that all of a sudden PJ Walker is our backup quarterback again. Because DTR goes down in this one in the limited time that he was on the field. He suffered a pretty nasty looking sack at the time, and he's been put on IR now with a hip injury. Obviously there's a chance he could come back in 4 weeks. You know, let's hope we're still playing football in 4 weeks. That'd be phenomenal. But more importantly, like you say, the whole special teams unit is a real concern, isn't it? Obviously, Hopkins has been brilliant, probably because he's closing in on the franchise points record that he's now picked up an injury. He's certainly not going to play Thursday night, but he has been designated as week to week. So fingers crossed, it might only be 1 week that he misses. He didn't look in too much discomfort on the sideline. You know, but with that said, we'll wait and see. These things obviously have a nasty habit of lingering. And the Borges one was weird because there wasn't an obvious play that it happened on, but all of a sudden he was out the game as well. So I thought to navigate the game with no kicking game at all, to be honest, it was good that we were so efficient that we didn't have to punt. You know, it was bad enough not kicking field goals, but, you know, I'd love to have seen what the plan would have been if we were like backed up in our own, you know, inside our own 20 and it was 4th and forever. You know, I'm sure that somebody would have had to a go at putting the foot through one. So it was a little bit concerning that there wasn't any sort of backup option. I'd like to think that they will identify somebody this week to at least give them some prep for it in case it happens again. But obviously, the bigger moves are obviously bringing in Riley Patterson, who will obviously handle the kicking duties, and Matt, is it Harcourt?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
I know that Hack was with Bob Ventrone last year, wasn't he? So there's some familiarity there. Again, Bajorquez isn't even officially ruled out yet as we record. But you probably think that, again, he would likely miss at least 1 week based on the fact that they've made that move.
But you hope then that he's given the chance to sit out another week as well. When you look at our position currently, if we win this week, our position is pretty much solidified. So then you just hope that, especially if you've got these guys in the building already, that they can be given that time then to to rest up and be ready to go for that wildcard weekend.
Yeah, they obviously won't do it because they'll continue to play, and while there's an option or a pathway to the number 1 seed still with 2 weeks left, the Browns will try everything they can to obviously take care of their side of the bargain. There is an argument that you could just sit everybody for the next 2 weeks, to be honest, because
no. I reckon you play the guys this week, and I reckon the Ravens will take care of business against Miami.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then obviously, like you say, everyone can go to the bench and have a week off in week 18, can't they? But realistically, the Browns are probably already in the playoffs. I know it's not officially rubber stamped, but we need to basically lose out. Every single game needs to go the right way in terms of the opposites against us. Even if the Browns don't win on Thursday, we can get in with a number of scenarios.
I think it's 5 different teams need to go a certain way, and I think at least one of those is an unexpected one. So it would certainly be an interesting end for it to matter going into week 18. But it's the Browns, so you got to keep on thinking about these permutations until it's rubber stamped.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Until it's rubber stamped, you don't want to count your chickens, I guess. But I think we've said, haven't we, for the last few weeks, it's been quite enjoyable to watch it, quite relaxed, to be honest, because there's no expectation. There is genuinely no expectation. I had a free bet thanks to my betting company this week, and I've put that free £10 bet on the Browns to win the Super Bowl at 50-1 because there just feels this sort of inevitability that something crazy is in the water because there's just no expectation. Every week they're going out there and just producing results. I'd expect that they'll take care of business Thursday. We'll probably have a quick touch on Thursday's game in a minute, I guess. But I imagine they take care of business at home on Thursday. And then we've said all along, it's a bit of a lottery once you get there. You've got to punch your ticket in. And then you hope that the blades of the ball goes in your favour and the officiating calls are on your side and all the rest of the cliches that you want to throw out there. But there's no reason to believe, based on the fact that this team has already beaten the number 1 seed in both conferences already this year. I'm not naive and I'm not suggesting that the Browns enter any game as a favourite, but I'm also not going to be in a position that I'm ruling this team out of being able to defeat anybody on any given Sunday. And all of a sudden, we've got a very explosive offense. Very, very explosive offense.
A very exciting one as well.
Yeah, and no one's going to want to play us, and that's the key thing. You'd like to see a bit more balance. You would like to see some more production from the run game. I don't want to say you want to see more from the running game because ultimately Flacco can throw it for 375 yards every week. Then it doesn't really matter. But but I guess you would like to see a touch more production in terms of the yards on the ground. I think a lot of it, to be honest, is down to the offensive line. I don't think it's as much on the running backs as people will probably get onto them because the yards per carry averages and all the rest of it, they don't look great in the box score. But to be fair, I mean, Jerome Ford in particular, I've been critical of him this year that he runs horizontally as opposed to vertically at times. But to be fair, every time he seemed to get the ball on Sunday, there was a defender in his face. So, you'd like to see a touch more from the run game. But like I say, my expectation level is really low because of all of the injuries. I'm just thoroughly enjoying the fact that week to week they're overcoming adversity, and they're getting it done, mate.
It's all right. I'm just reading a promotion from Dude Wipes, the sponsor of the Browns' whiteout uniforms. They've just put out a tweet saying to celebrate the Browns' amazing QB play this season. If you bring an old jersey of any Browns quarterback from 99 to 2021, we'll swap it out for a brand new white jersey at the stadium ahead of Thursday Night Football. That's going to cost them an absolute fortune if people decide to get on that. I think I've got 2 in my flat somewhere.
Incredible, mate. I mean, and like I say, it is ridiculous, to be honest, when you look at what Flacco has done. You know, he's played 4 games. He's the Browns' leading passer on the season already in 4 games.
Yeah.
He's thrown the most touchdowns of all the quarterbacks. If you were actually to add this up into a normal regular season in terms of the level of production, he's on pace for 5,500 yards. 5,500 yards and 42 touchdowns.
I mean, he's got. I think that he's second only to Damar Hamlin now for Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Flacco.
Well, look, I mean, if it was based on obviously on the field, then look, you know, we've done this conversation, haven't we?
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, I understand why Damar Hamlin's the betting favourite, but you know, he's been inactive more than he's been on the field. I mean, surely you've actually got to come back and play to be in that consideration. Yeah. But anyway, like, be as it may, I think, like I say, I'm not too bothered about that. I'm sure it's the least.
No. It's just good to be able to talk about it from a production angle. You know, you look at it at the moment, and you know, when you talk about potential outside Super Bowl odds, Kevin Stefanski is currently the front runner for Coach of the Year according to the bookies. He's moved into favourite. Myles Garrett is now bookies' favourite for Defensive Player of the Year, despite what has been a down month, according to those that only read sack stats. You've got you got Joe Flacco as Comeback Player of the Year, second selection there. Amari Cooper's currently playing at Offensive Player of the Month sort of level. You know, he got the Offensive Player of the Week accolade just this week as well. You got players all over the park who are producing incredibly well. It's that feel good factor, and the reasons to why I bring that up is just that feel good factor that they have. You know, the fact you can have that confidence when we're on QB4. You know, Joe Flacco was. What was it? Was he was in a restaurant? No, he was in a Dunkin' Donuts when he got the call. You know, like what? Excuse me. So you look at that and brilliant. And just some breaking news. While we've been talking, we've got the game statuses of those that were questionable in the injury report. So those that are definitely out, some that we knew already. So Anthony Walker's out, Ogbo is out, Dustin Hopkins is out, Corey Bajorquez is doubtful. And then some questionable ones here. So Juan Thornhill is questionable, Marquise Goodwin questionable, and Amari Cooper questionable as well. Yeah, he was. I don't think he's actually practiced this week, Amari Cooper, from what I've seen. So I'm not surprised he's down as questionable there.
Yeah, I'd guess that's one of those though that he's likely going to play. I don't think there was anything serious from the game itself. Obviously, I'd imagine as much as anything, it's a short week. I think they're just being careful and prudent. I don't think they need to do anything in terms of practice, to be honest. It seems as though they're playing together forever, doesn't it? Interestingly, in terms of for the Browns in this one, it seems as though it's going to be Trevor Siemian again for the Jets. Myles Garrett's had success against Trevor Siemian in the past. I think this is going to be a game that let's not forget that the New York Jets, for all of their issues this year, have generally played pretty well on defense.
Yep, they're one of the better defenses for sure.
So that's something just to be mindful of. It's going to be a lot more difficult, you would assume, for the Browns to move the ball in the same way that they did against the Texans. It's a much different proposition coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
You would like to think that our defence will still be able to hold up its end of the bargain. So I don't imagine it being a particularly pretty game for the neutral. The fact that it's a 1 o'clock in the morning kickoff, it's probably one of those, even if you are a Browns fan, you might sort of think, well, do you know what, I'll just get up and watch it on DAZN in the morning as opposed to sort of sticking with the 1 a.m. get up. But ultimately, it's a game that you would like to think that the Browns can take care of business. I think it'll be loud in the building. It's one of the only times that the Browns have been in the national spotlight all year. I think they had the Monday Night Football game early doors, and I don't think they've had one since.
They have not.
So, this has been a sort of under the radar team, if you like, that all of a sudden there does seem to be some national recognition. And that doesn't make no difference to me and you on this side of the pond, but trust me, over there it does make a big difference.
Oh, I know, yeah. Absolutely.
So I think it is something that they'll want to put on a show, they'll want to put on a performance. And ultimately, like you say, mate, the beauty of it is if they get the job done, look, let's keep the dream alive. There's still a path to that number one seed. There's still a path to the division, even if the number one seed doesn't work out. There's still a path to the division. I know there's that debate going around at the minute. Would you rather go on the road and travel to what looks like the AFC South winner, or would you rather host potentially a bit of a resurgent Buffalo team? My answer to that is I'd always prefer the Browns to play at home. I think the road and home splits are...
I knew me and you would be complete polar opposites on that.
Yeah, well, for me, I just think you play at home as often as you can, because if you're going to win the Super Bowl, you're going to have to play some tough matchups. It's as simple as that. Once you get to this stage of the season, I just think the Browns have been so good at home this year. What are they, 7-1 at home? A chance to go 8-1.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a place that anybody would like to come. And it's not just that first weekend. As the 3 seed, there's every chance that there may well be a couple of home games potentially. This AFC we've seen all year is very, very open. The Chiefs were woeful again this weekend. The Jags were woeful again this weekend.
See, that's why I like the 5. I like the 5, and I like Buffalo being kept at 6, because then you can hide behind Buffalo a little bit. You can take the Jags and then take the Chiefs, while Buffalo and Baltimore go clashing against each other, and then maybe Buffalo beats the Ravens, and then you got an AFC Championship game at home against the Bills. Stranger things have happened.
It may be. I mean, to be honest, mate, it's that congested at the moment. I mean, you can't see the top 2 in the conference at the minute losing their matchups, but you could certainly see the 3 and the 4 losing to the 5 and the 6 as things stand. You could certainly see that happening. So
I think it's just the case of no matter what, we're just here for the ride.
And I think that's the beauty of it. At the start of the season, if we hadn't have had injuries and all the rest of it, you would have absolutely still taken the position that we find ourselves in now as being a successful season. The best record in the NFL is only, 2 games better than the record that we have. You would have absolutely said, from a team that finished, don't forget, 4th in the division last year, to go to that kind of record, you would have absolutely snapped anybody's hands off. The fact that we've done it in the way that we've done it, with all of the adversity that we've overcome, there'll always be that sort of what if question in terms of this season, because you kind of think, well, what if, and I think the offensive line's the thing that's going to be the one that catches up to us, because, like I say, that's where the run game's suffering and all the rest of it. But ultimately, get a win on Thursday night in front of your home fans, rubber stamp it officially, and then, like I say, sit back, see what happens between the Ravens and the Dolphins later on in the weekend, and then you can evaluate what you do then in terms of Week 18. I don't think it would be a bad thing for the Browns to have a week off, to be honest. I think they are beaten up. They had a really early bye. I don't think it would do them any harm whatsoever
to have a fabricated bye in Week 18.
That's it. Say to Miles, say to Denzel Ward and all the real key players, guys, just have a week off. We're going to be the 5 seed, whatever happens. Put your feet up a bye week, and then, like you say, I don't think whoever finishes in that fourth place, and to be honest, when I say that fourth place, it still could be the Kansas City Chiefs. They they really, really do look poor. And to be honest, I'd quite like to get to Arrowhead. I think we owe them one. I think we owe them one in Arrowhead. So
Yeah, I agree. I just hope that we end up playing the Chiefs that played on Christmas Day, rather than the Chiefs that we've ended up playing over the last couple of years.
yeah, I think they're very much a different Chiefs team there, mate. Very, very much a different Chiefs team. And let's not look too far ahead. I think the Browns match up pretty well defensively against them. I think the linebacker play, JOK, we've talked about it. If he could keep Travis Kelce quiet, I certainly fancy our corners up against their receivers that they've got.
Honestly, it's just the AFC East that tends to worry me at the moment. You go down the list, and obviously this is looking ahead, right? And it's mainly because we can't say too much about the game tomorrow. Like I think you've already covered it. Jets Browns 35 points is the over under. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be about just getting points where you can get them. Just hope that the home form sort of rides you through. The Jets have been woeful on the road as well, which is helpful. You should be beating quarterbacks like Trevor Siemian if you're planning to beat quarterbacks like you'll be playing in the playoffs. And as you've already said, we've beaten the Ravens at their place already. So, there's one. The Chiefs, the Chiefs are losing to teams like the Raiders, who are in a world of turmoil. They've had quite a few head-scratching results this year. The Jags, we've beaten the Jags at home. I reckon they've gotten worse since that game as well. So, you take them. The AFC East seems to be a case of knocking the crap out of each other in terms of the Bills and the Dolphins. I don't necessarily enjoy the prospect of either. And then and then that last one is probably going to be between the Bengals, the Colts, the Texans, and oh God, the Steelers can still make it, can't they?
Yeah,
I take it against any of those.
Yeah, like you say, mate, it's going to be one of those, isn't it? That you will take whatever matchup you get, and like I think the important thing is, look at it from the viewpoint of the other teams as well. No one, I don't think, is going to fancy playing the Cleveland Browns because I know it's an old saying that defense wins championships, but we've said all year this defense will keep the Browns competitive in most games, and we've said all year long if we could just get average quarterback play, what might the limit be? And we've seen what that limit is now. There is no limit to it. The offense, as we said, has all of a sudden become explosive. If the Browns got into a 14-point hole, which we've done a couple of times this year, and we've methodically drawn our way back previously, it feels like we'd be able to pull it back within a matter of moments at the minute because all of a sudden we're launching 50-yard bombs down the field. So I'm just loving the ride, mate. It's been such an enjoyable season, all things considered. It felt as though the wheels were starting to come off. They went on that couple of game losing streak, didn't they, after they'd won the two big games in the division. They beat the Ravens and they beat the Steelers back to back, and then had that tough sort of couple of games on the road, and you thought, oh, no, it's going to fall away. But they've bounced back incredibly well. And I thought it was huge last week. We talked about it, get a win on the road. Because you're likely you're going to go on the road in the playoffs. So get a win on the road. So yeah, look, just phenomenal, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure of a season. And like I say, I'll be up early hours of Thursday night, Friday morning watching it. Hopefully they can get the job done. And then I'll just be keeping my fingers crossed that we get one of the kind of UK playoff times, because obviously some of them are absolute stinkers, aren't they? So
yes, but please, for the love of God, let it be a Sunday. I've got a plane to catch back from New York on the Saturday, and I just know it's going to be. I just know it's going to be a Saturday game, and I know it's going to be a time where it's going to be really inconvenient to find a screen. So I'm just begging that it's a Sunday because I can watch those. So yeah.
I brought my mum some concert tickets for Christmas, and I did say to her, so there is a slight caveat. I said, if the Browns are in the AFC Championship game, I said we're going to have a conversation. So yeah, we'll we'll wait and see.
Oh goodness, yeah, and I think those start at like 9 o'clock, don't they? I think the championship games.
There's normally one about. I think one normally about 8 and one about 11:30. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. There's plenty to do between now and then. So
Oh, absolutely. But it's always fun to talk about the fact that we can joke about this sort of thing as we come to the end of December. When I was joking with some of the guys in the 14 yards chat earlier on, Bengals fans saying, "Look, it's fine. We can play our six stringers on next Sunday if we win tonight." And that would be our second stringers usually, but we passed that back in October. So we're
can
we
you
we
imagine? Yeah, we've sort of said this, haven't we? About it'd be nice for the Browns to have like a bye week. I just wonder what the combination would be on the offensive line if they sat the starters. I can't even. Andrew Berry will have to go and sign a dozen players just to fill the team.
Yeah, I'm wondering, can you elevate an entire practice squad for one game? But then can you also ring around local practice squads and elevate theirs as well, just for one game? Can you dress people that you see on the street? Can we run that as a campaign just for that one game? Just anyone in the Cincinnati area that wants to have an NFL game under their belts.
Yeah.
We'll provide equipment.
Yeah, frightening when you think about it. But like you say, that's part of what's made it so enjoyable, isn't it? The fact that they've been
Yeah.
able to overcome all of this. But
Yeah. And also, it's something that's endearing people back to the Cleveland Browns. Something which I've noticed as well. Obviously, we've taken an insane PR hit, for the last year and a bit with this Watson business. And, the fact that it's this underdog story, this Cinderella story, which is led by Joe Flacco of all people, it's the kind of story that you only really see on Disney Plus. It's the only it's something of which is just out of fantasy almost, and it's making people go, actually, you know what? Go on, Cleveland, do it. Which they would not have been saying in September.
it's a very likable team, and like you said, and there is no doubt about it. Although it's an uncomfortable conversation, they kind of touched on it on the Sky broadcast on the weekend. It is easier to root for them at the minute. There is no question about that, and I'm sorry if that upsets anybody, but that is the reality. It is a much easier team to root for. Look, there's already a ton of questions going into the off season. We're not going to get into that now because we could be here for another ever or God knows how long. But we kind of joked when Joe Flacco signed, what would you do if he had a really impressive showing and had a strong sort of few performances and maybe won a playoff game? I mean, he's been so much better than I think any of us anticipated. And yeah, like I say, questions for the off season. But yeah, it's such a likable team. Guys like Amari Cooper are just excellent professionals, aren't they? He had a record-setting day the weekend. It was funny, wasn't it? Trying to, I think he was the most delighted that the defense had allowed the Texans to sort of slightly crawl their way back into the
so
game,
that he could go in and do his thing. Yeah,
and get another 13 yards just to get his records. It was quite funny, that exchange with him and Stefanski.
Oh, wasn't it just like no, clear off.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, he's a likable guy. I mean, obviously, I know he's not playing at the minute, but everybody knows what Nick Chubb is. I mean, the David Njoku plays with a smile on his face. Joel Bitonio. They're just a likable bunch, aren't they? They really are a likable bunch. They're easy to get behind. They're easy to support. And I think, like we said, it'd be the expectation level has just disappeared as far as this podcast has gone. We're just enjoying the ride. We're enjoying it week to week. We said it'd be a shame. They deserve to make the playoffs. They're as good as there. Let's hope they can clinch it officially, mate, on Thursday night. What a place to do it, at home, in front of the dog pound. Yeah, let's get it done Thursday night.
Yeah. Against a team where we've had plenty of memorable exchanges over the last few years as well. There's always something with Cleveland versus the Jets. You had the Baker debut, you had the COVID wide receiver amnesty, which screwed up a playoff push, if you remember. At one point, that was when all the luck went against us in a slightly different sense. Last year, you had the Flacco miracle against us, which is probably going to be one of the most memorable games that I can have in my memory bank. And now you've got this, which is almost it going back to being full circle to that Baker debut point. So yeah, it's bound to be another memorable one. That's all we got time for today, folks. We will be back in the new year. It's only a few days to go now, but it still feels mad to be saying in the new year. Thank you to everyone for listening to us in 2023. We're looking forward to providing you with stories, anecdotes, and more as we go on to our Super Bowl push in 2024, and obviously provide you with much, much more as we go through the year. Shaun, thank you, buddy, and also happy birthday for a couple of days' time.
Cheers.
Happy, no worries. Happy birthday also to Nick Chubb, whose birthday is today. Just that you mentioned him earlier, so I thought I might as well give him the shout out, just in case he's listening.
I actually share my birthday, believe it or not, with Miles Garrett. It's Miles Garrett's birthday on Friday as well, so there you go.
Wow, what a that was something out of left field. Yeah, so happy birthday to Miles Garrett as well on Friday. Let's hope that he can provide us with a bit of birthday magic tomorrow night, which will technically be his birthday in Britain if we work that out correctly. Yeah, brilliant. Right, we will see you guys in the new year. We'd like to give you a day, but to be honest with you, we have no idea. So just keep listening. In fact, do us a favor, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you get this podcast from. If it's on Facebook, be sure to like the page. You'll get the notifications pop up when we go live. Twitter, follow us as well. We'll keep putting out content once a week. All the rest of it. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great new year. Let's hope that we're seeing ourselves in with a win, and we'll see you next week.